When the judge told him to remove his medal, the old man didn't argue. He quietly took off his silver star and placed it on the table. But when a uniformed officer stood up from the back of the courtroom, the judge's career ended right then and there. Because some people quietly demand respect, while others quietly deliver justice. Welcome to Quiet Heroes. Before we begin this powerful story of justice, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe true honor should never be forgotten, hit that subscribe button and help these stories continue to live on. Courtroom 3 of the city courthouse had witnessed the town's biggest legal battles. But that day, the case was just an ordinary property dispute, a boundary disagreement between two neighbors. Normally, such cases would be heard in rooms with 20 to 30 people, but that morning, the courtroom was packed, because there was one name on the witness list: Joseph Emery. The townspeople knew him, but no one really knew who he was. 74 years old, wearing a faded blue blazer, black shoes, and a silver star gleaming on his chest. They would see him at every Veterans Day ceremony, always quiet, always standing aside. He never gave speeches, never told stories. He just stood, showing respect. That morning when he entered the courthouse, there was a slight tremor in his hands. He had no lawyer, no family had come with him, just him, his blazer, and his medal. Whispers spread through the courtroom. Will he finally speak? What has this man seen? Judge Harold Whitmore was known in his 20-year career for discipline and severity. He had no tolerance for theatrics, none at all for sentimentality. He hadn't served in the military, but he had built his career through hard work. In his courtroom, dignity meant following his rules. Joseph quietly took his seat. In the back rows, he noticed a man he didn't recognize but whose military bearing was obvious. Navy blue suit, but the straightness of his shoulders, the discipline in his walk. This man was also a soldier. Joseph Francis Emery, please take the witness stand. When Joseph stood up, the courtroom grew even quieter. Each step was careful, determined. The medal he had carried for 50 years still stood proudly on his chest. He approached the witness stand and took the oath. Judge Whitmore scrutinized him, his eyes fixed on the medal. Silver Star, the second highest military decoration for valor. Most people would never see one in their lifetime, but Whitmore didn't look impressed. Before you begin your testimony, Whitmore said, his voice cold and sharp, remove that medal. This is a courtroom, not a parade ground. The courtroom froze. Some gasped, others shifted uncomfortably. Joseph didn't move at all. He just looked into the judge's eyes. There was no anger in that gaze, no defiance either, just weight, the weight of decades. Mr. Emery, I told you, remove that medal, or I won't allow you to testify. Joseph's hand slowly moved to the back of the medal. The courtroom held its breath. The honor he had carried on his chest for 50 years, he removed and placed on the edge of the table, like a flag folded without ceremony. But at that moment, someone stood up from the back of the courtroom. No one had seen him arrive. A fully uniformed officer, his chest full of medals, his posture perfect. Your Honor, the man said, his voice not loud but filling the courtroom. May I speak? Judge Whitmore was surprised. This was an unexpected intervention. The man slowly moved forward. The sound of his shoes echoed through the courtroom. His uniform read, Colonel Marcus Reed. Your Honor, Reed said, not leaving his position, I know Joseph Emery. We served together in Cambodia in 1971. The courtroom erupted. Whispers rose. The judge banged his gavel. I want order in this courtroom. Who are you? Colonel Marcus Reed, 82nd Airborne Division, retired. Reed approached and picked up the silver star from the table. He raised the medal in the air where everyone could see it. This medal, he said, raising his voice, is not decoration. It's not for show. This is a living gravestone. The judge tried to intervene. This is disrespectful. Reed silenced him. disrespectful. Let me show you what disrespect is. This man saved my life. When our helicopter crashed under enemy fire, wounded, for 3 hours he carried 7 men, one by one. No one died that night, because Joseph Emery was there. Reed turned and looked at Joseph. 2 old soldiers, decades of history in their eyes. You don't know this man, Reed said, turning to the judge, but I do. And today he came here not to break his silence, but to receive respect. Reed continued, his voice now addressing everyone in focus. Joseph Emery, 1st Cavalry Division, served in Southeast Asia from 1968 to 1972, 3 tours, voluntarily. The judge didn't know what to say. The courtroom had become completely silent. Do you know how this medal was earned? Reed asked. March 1971, on the Cambodian border. We were ambushed during a reconnaissance mission. Our helicopter was shot down. Pilot dead, co-pilot wounded, 6 soldiers trapped. Reed paused, letting the weight of the moment sink in. Joseph had burns, shrapnel in his leg, but he didn't leave us. He carried us one by one, 7 men, 3 kilometers, under enemy fire, no radio, no help, just him. Joseph was still silent, but his eyes had welled up. And finally, Reed continued, while carrying me, he was hit a 2nd time. In the shoulder, but he still didn't stop. He carried me to the safe zone. Then he collapsed. Judge Whitmore had turned pale. He hadn't expected to hear this story. He spent 3 months in the hospital, but he didn't come to the medal ceremony. It was my duty, he just said, and he never spoke about it after that day. Reed offered the medal to Joseph, but this time he didn't pin it on. He held it in his hand. Your Honor, Reed said, we should show respect to this man not for a day, but for a lifetime, because he showed us that heroism comes with silence. The courtroom began to applaud, standing up. The judge tried to stop them, but no one was listening. People were looking at Joseph with respect. This time there wasn't a defendant in the witness stand, but a hero. Reed continued. Removing this medal didn't mean surrendering his honor. It meant quietly submitting to injustice, and we cannot allow that. The judge now understood it was too late, but he was too proud to step back. I make the decisions in this courtroom, he said with a trembling voice. No, Reed said. Justice makes decisions in this courtroom, and justice says heroes will be shown respect. At that moment, other uniformed soldiers were seen entering through the courtroom doors. 2, 3, 5. They had all come for Joseph. Reed raised his hand, signaling to the other soldiers. Your Honor, every man here is either someone whose life Joseph Emery saved or their comrades in arms. We didn't come here to make a show, but to show respect. The soldiers quietly lined up. Each one saluted Joseph. Judge Whitmore no longer knew what to do. This is against procedure, he said with difficulty. Your Honor, Reed said, procedure includes respect. What procedure allows you disrespect? Reporters were trying to enter the courtroom. Security was trying to stop them. But it was too late. The incident had spread. Judge Whitmore's 20-year career ended there that day because he had disrespected a hero. And now everyone knew it. Joseph Emery was still silent. He put the medal back on, but this time not with pride, but with sadness, because respect wasn't something taken by force. It was something that should be given. Reed took the microphone and spoke one last time. Joseph Emery never wanted recognition. He never told his story. But today we learned that real heroes live quietly, serve quietly. Joseph stood up, thanked them, and left the courtroom. The soldiers followed him out. Judge Whitmore was left completely alone at the bench. The next day the news was everywhere. Judge disrespected veteran. 20-year career ended in one day. Justice comes quietly. Judge Whitmore resigned. Joseph Emery returned to his old life. Same house, same routine, same silence. But now the townspeople saw him differently, with respect, because sometimes justice isn't brought by loud voices, but by people who won't tolerate injustice standing behind silent heroes. Joseph Emery's story shows us that real heroes don't wait for recognition. They quietly do their duty, live quietly. But in the face of injustice, someone always stands up for them. Have you ever met someone like Joseph? Someone who served quietly, never boasted, but was ready when needed? Share their story in the comments. Subscribe to Quiet Heroes, because the stories of forgotten heroes must continue to live. We'll see you in the next story. And remember, true justice comes quietly, but it always comes.